Hi, I'm Paul Dayball from Niagara College, Welland, Ontario, Canada. Today I'm going to mock up a phone app. This is for one of my classes that I'm teaching, and this app is very, very simplistic, and it's not meant to be anything arduous or exciting or difficult or advanced at all. It's the beginning of how to learn to design a phone app. Now, understand that I'm going to use InDesign because it's something I've been teaching. But there are lots of really great applications out there that might even be better than InDesign. I think Adobe has XD, and there's one called Sketch, and there's all sorts of them out there. These even some online ones that might be really great for doing this. But we've learned InDesign. InDesign's a really nice multi-use tool, so we can do it with InDesign. And whether you do it in InDesign or do it in one of the other programs, the concept is the same. Now, what you're really trying to do is create a mock-up of, in this case, full size, so that when you show it to a client, they get a real understanding of what it's going to look like. And this is a little more detailed in that you're going to put all the buttons in and you're going to have the right colors and stuff. Much different than wireframing, where in wireframing, you're just trying to get the flow of the application. You're trying to understand what goes on each of the screens and get the flow done. Wireframing is done first. And before wireframing, remember, it's the list of requirements that has to go into the app. And you need to keep following that list of requirements all the way through to the mock-up, and make sure you keep doing that. To start this off, I'm going to start with the print area up here because I'm going to work in print. That puts us into the CMYK color model, and that'll be easier for when you actually go to print it out in color for the client. I'm going to work in inches, and I'm going to turn this straight letter file sideways, and I know that it will fit because I've tried this already. Down here I'm going to put in 0.375 as my margin, and I know that that will print off the printer properly. Most printers will print to within 1/4 of an inch, so you should be okay there. I don't need any columns or gutters, and I'm going to go ahead and create. Now, to speed up this process, I've actually got a library done. Now, these are logos and a color palette and all sorts of other stuff that I've done prior to getting onto the screen, so it'll be a lot easier for us to do it that way. The first thing you want to do is find out what size you need to work in. So here are my sizes. And if I zoom in on this, you can see that the iPhone 11 Max, this is the size 6.22 by 3.06. So I'm just going to stick that over the side while I'm starting to work here. I'm going to draw a box of that size. I'm going to start here. I'll put it down here a little bit so I can maybe type over top. We'll have to figure that out as we go. And the width is 3.06. Oh, not 306. 3.06 by 6.22. That's going to be the size of the actual phone. Now, I went and found a template. Now, I'm going to place that in here, File, Place, or Command D as we move along. And in my area here, I've got an iPhone, I believe I have a template. There it is, the PNG template. And I'm going to place that inside. Whoa, it's way too big to be in there. So I'm going to do some fitting. And I'm going to put, I'm going to fill the frame. I'm going to fit the content to the frame. Now, this isn't quite right, is it? So I'm just going to pull this over like this. Now, I found this on the internet, and you can go and find the one that matches the assignment. You can see that I'm fitting this to the box. Fit this out to the box. Now, you might want to save yourself a bit. Mine had room around it and stuff, had white space around it, obviously. So, you might want to go into Photoshop or Previewer or something like that and cut that off. But I'll get it mocked up here. Now, it's nice to have the mock-up because then you can actually see what happens with all the edges and all that kind of stuff. These mock-ups are available all over the internet. Now, to duplicate this, since I'm going to do 3 screens, to duplicate this, I'm simply going to hold down the Shift key, which is going to give me a straight sideways movement, and then hold down the Option key so I can duplicate. And you can see that by doing that, I can duplicate fairly quickly. Now, I'm going to select all of them by going around it like this. And then I'm going to put that and center it in the center. And you can see that when I do that, it automatically centers. You may want to move these out a bit. All depends on what your choice is, what your preferences are. Okay. So I think I've got it in fairly decent condition. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to lock these down. I'm going to throw this away. I don't need that anymore. I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to go up under here under Object, and I'm going to say Lock. The nice thing about that is you can see that they are now locked, and they can't move while you're throwing stuff onto them. Now, at this point, in fact, before this, you have to decide what each of these are going to be. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the home page of a pizza parlor, and then I'm going to do one that is one where you can order a customized pizza. Now, in your assignment, I've laid it out fairly carefully as to what you need to have in each of these screens. Well, not laid it out perfectly, but laid it out so that you kind of know what each screen is supposed to have, and you've got to decide what's going to be in there. The first thing I'm going to do is get my libraries. I'm going to get this full Pizza Parlor logo. I'm going to stick it on the screen. I'm going to put it right here. And I'm going to move that into place. So when you click to their app, you're going to get this. Okay. Now, I do have a color palette down here, and I got the color palette online. I went and found a color palette, and I would stick that down in the corner. Now, you don't have to, but I usually stick this down in the corner so that my client sees a color palette that I'm working with. And you can see that if I zoom in on this, I've got some colors right there. Those are the hexadecimal colors. I'm going to show you how to put those hexadecimal colors into your swatches. I just go to the swatches here, and remember to work in the typography color palette, typography workspace. I'm going to go to swatches, and I'm going to go new color swatch. You want to work in process, just so printing out. Don't worry too much. You don't want to work in spot. Work in process. Okay, and you can see that if I'm in the CMYK color, I don't get that color. I can't put in the hexadecimal. But if I go to RGB, I can. And then I can switch it back. So what I'll do is I'll go ED2409. And that'll give me that color. And then I can say add. Now, once I get it added, I can then roll up here and I can go to CMYK. And I can say add. So there it is. And I probably want to get rid of the one that's non-CMYK'd, but we'll do that later. Whether you work in CMYK or RGB in this assignment, it's not really a big deal. You could work in either, I suppose. And I don't think it would make a big difference when it print out. It would make it does make a difference on some projects though. I just did one recently where I didn't switch it right away, and I noticed it right away when I went to do the piece. And I'm going to add one more here. Add that. You can see that that's added over here. And then I'm going to take it over to the CMYK color palette. I'm going to add it. And I might as well do this last one. There is a white here that's slightly off white that you might want to use, but I'm going to just use these. And 545E75. guess I could switch it right at that point. There we go. That'll work. Add. Done. So now what I could do is I could get rid of the hex ones here just by deleting that swatch. Delete this swatch. And delete this swatch. There we go. So now I've got some colors in my color palette. Command 0, back to screen. So now my customer has a, something here, or I could place it somewhere else later on, but for right now, let's just leave it there. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to put in a thing here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in something that says, hey, this is going to be the featured pizzas of the week or something. So I'm going to put a little box here. Sorry, wrong type of box. I'm going to put a text box in here. Not worried too much about size just yet. I'll work on that later. Maybe this week's. I'm going to center that. You can center it up here. And remember, I'm going to center it this way in the box. There's two ways of doing that. One, the fastest way I always think is just go to text frame options under object and say centered. The other way to do it, and you have to remember though, is you got to click here and then you can center it right there. You can also click right here. So there's two ways to do it. I'm going to find a font for this. I'm probably going to work in Calibra bold there. I'm going to blow that up a bit, and I'm going to take out some leading. I'm going to make this all caps, and I'm going to make it light. I'll leave this in all caps. Maybe make this one slightly smaller. Now, it is a little down in the box. You can see that there's a little more room above than below. I'm just going to select all of it, and I'm going to baseline shift it up. And this is the reason I teach this kind of baseline shifting. You can play around with that a little bit. All right, let me make the box a color. So let me get to our swatches, and maybe we can make this filled with this blue. Now, only thing is that doesn't show, so maybe we can make that this. And we could put a stroke of white around the outside of it. Oh, that's way too thick of a stroke though. So let's see if we can make that a 0.25 or something. And there we go. Now, do we like the color? I don't like it. But it's within the color model, but it's too much of that color. So let's see if we can make this a little different. Let's see what happens. You want to switch it to that? That's not bad. That might be too much, or it might be just perfect. But I think that's a little too much. So I think this kind of works. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make 4 boxes in here. I'm going to put 4 pizzas in here. I'm going to make this as small as possible. That it still looks okay. Let's see if sizing this down a little bit will make it a little nicer. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is make those boxes. I said we need 4 boxes of the same size. And I'm just going to make a box, and I'm going to really look at the height first of all. And then there's the center, but I don't really even need to do that. I'll show you the fastest way of doing this is that I'm going to duplicate this box across like this. And then I'm going to hold down my shift key and select both boxes. Then hold down shift command, and it keeps the same proportion that way. Shift command, click, drag, and I'm going to drag that out to there. See, look at that. Now I've made the boxes perfect. I can size the boxes up this way a bit, maybe too tall. And then I'm holding down shift and option at the same time. Shift option for the duplicate. And I'm going to drag that down, and there we go. I've design 4 boxes really quickly. I'm just using my nudge key to nudge them around, and that looks pretty good. Now, I'm going to put pictures in each of these boxes. I'm going to go Command D, and I'm going to place them in there. And I've got a bunch of them. And I'm going to go and say fitting, fill frame proportionally. That's the Neapolitan one. Let me see. I've got one veggie. Fitting, fill frame proportionally. I think I'm going to put that one down here. Actually, I think I'm going to put it here because it kind of looks better down here. The veggie would look really good here. And I think I'm going to put the Italian pizza over here, fill frame proportionally. And I'm going to put the Portuguese one here. Let me figure out which one it is. Oh, it's the egg pizza. And I'm going to click on that one. I'm going to roll that in. And then I'm going to size that up. I'm going to move it over. I think I like this look of the edge of the pan. Kind of matches with this one. All right. So now I'm going to put a little type over top of those. I'm going to draw a little text box. And this one I'm going to put as Neapolitan. Well, I have to spell it right. There we go. It was a tough one to spell. All right, so I'm going to go and I'm going to look for that font right at the top here. You can see I've got it, and I'm going to make it bold. I'm going to make it all caps, and I'm definitely going to put this in white with a black outline. So black here and paper or white here. And we'll see what that looks like. Yeah, it looks good. The reason this works is that, I'm going to blow it up so you can see it. The reason it works is that anywhere it's light, the black goes in, and then anywhere that it's black, the white shows in. So this is kind of a nice way of doing this kind of thing. I'm going to do a little trick here. I'm going to pull this to the bottom, so I'm on right at the bottom of the photo. And then I'm going to move it down until I get it where I want it to be. That's perfect. And then I'm going to hold down my Shift and my Option. I'm going to drag straight sideways. And this one is the Portuguese pizza. I've never had that one. I'm willing to give it a try. And then down here, this is traditional, and this is 4 cheese. There we go. So we've now got that in place. Let me see. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull on a bunch of buttons onto the screen. And I have them all pre-made. I know it's kind of cheating, but speeds it up for you. And so I made these buttons. Some of them I made right here, and some of them I made earlier as I showed how I make a button in one of my other videos. So I'm going to put these buttons down here. And so I've got an order now, and I'm going to say a create your own button. And then I've got one where I've got it so that you could go to these right at the bottom. And you may have more of those or less of those, but you can decide how you want to do that. So I'm going to put those down here, and I may even snuggle them down a bit more into here, and I'll snuggle these down. Whoops. And then I can always take a look at all of these. Snuggle this all down. There we go. Pretty clean now. And then I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to put these over here. Now, this next screen is going to be one where I can go ahead and custom order a pizza. So I can, here I've got this button that says create your own, and then I'm going to go to this screen. So let's see what I have for that. I've got a menu items over here, and I'm going to put some menu items on the screen here, and I'll just put them out here. And then I've got this other type of logo for not the full logo, but kind of a smaller word mark logo for each of the other screens, so it doesn't take up as much space, right? So I'm going to put these on the screen. I'm going to say, what do you want? Do you want to pick up and delivery? Let's put that over here. So this ask is going to ask a bunch of questions. I've pre-done this, of course. Now you can see that this is much too large for this. So to fix this, I'm going to take it to two up here to 2 columns. That can also be done under text frame options, but you can see by clicking and holding, I can drag that up, and now I have that. And then I've got another one here. I'm going to do that in 2 columns. And I'm going to drag that up. And there's a lot of tweaking at this moment when you're going along. I'm going to make a little thing here that says size. And I might make this a color, just to make it yeah, that might actually work. So let's see what we can do here. And I'm holding down Shift Option to duplicate on the fly like that. Shift Option. Right. Get those in the right spot, and then we'll figure out what it is. Toppings. Toppings, and this is dip, and this is select one. Select one. Perfect. Okay. Okay, I think I've got that one kind of done. So as you can see, I think we've got kind of an app on the go, and I could put up some titling up here and maybe put some instructions down here, or I could move the whole thing around. But if I go like this, I think we've got an app kind of on the go. We may do some other work. I may have to move this around a little bit. I may want to do some stuff here. So let me see if I have a little bit of a pizza slice or something I can put in there. So here, I'll put this up here. Put that over here. Move this down, turn this around, put that here. I have to bring this to the front, arrange, bring to front. And maybe send this to back. Oh, guess we have to send other stuff to back. Here, I'll just bring all of this to front. Range, bring to front. Then I can snuggle this in there. Well, you get the concept anyways. So we're going to, I will, I'll play with this quite a bit and, move it around and get everything where I want it. But you get the idea that we now have, a mock-up of an app for a phone. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, get a hold of me. I know the assignment is difficult to do on your own. I wish we had in-class time to do this, but we don't. So if you have any questions, please email me, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. And if we even need to talk over the phone, we can do that. Whatever way we can work this out, that'd be great. All right. So I'm Paul Dayball from Niagara College, and have a great day.